Letter of Reverend P. Church to the Dublin Christian Record, Dundrum Bay, 1846. I had retired to my berth a little before 9, fatigued with the anxieties of the day, but was still awake to observe every stage of the disaster. My first premonition of it was a succession of unusual motions, at intervals of half a second, quivering and creaking through the mighty framework of iron, like the convulsions of nature in an earthquake. This was soon followed by a tumult above, which convinced me that disaster of some sort impended, and I rose and dressed myself with all possible speed. I ran upon deck, when lo! The misty outlines of an unknown coast were visible through the darkness, from which two lights reflected a fitful glare of blue flame to our anxious view. Land so beautiful, so delightful under ordinary circumstances, now revealed itself to us, perhaps, with its shelving rocks and its quicksands, as a ghastly spectre to menace calamities the most fearful, the talisman of a speedy and a fearful death.
The wreck. At high tide, the tips of the masts are visible. As the water recedes, they are canted, booms and crossbars describing impossible angles. The decks remain below, unseen, saturated. I move on down through the grey and blue, rusted capstans, the gleam of rotting cannon, rolling casks that have ended in the scuppers, the ship's cook endlessly relighting galley fires. The crew gathers around me, signing wordlessly to avoid the rocks, but the helmsman is dead at the wheel, lolling in his chains, and today's rum ration will be forever preserved. Flood seeps up the hold companionway. There have been horses here, tethered in stables, and a cargo of ore and loose timber, which would have rolled free upon catastrophe. A mute cabin boy shimmers in the darkness, hair tousled, clothing disarrayed, a letter unwritten to a mother who will never cease from waiting, from calling his name into the oceanic void. The sea creatures phosphoresce in the gloom, their blind gaze illuminating emptiness, as I stare at coil upon coil of rope, vast rectangles of canvas, 6-inch needles and thread in the sailmaker's workshop. I was a tailor on Cheapside, he whispers, until the king's men came, and my clothing was fine. But then there were shinsails and topgallants to patch, and shrouds to fashion, as homage to the widowmaker. Swimming upward past the captain's cabin, an elegant scene unfolds, all scarlet and rosewood, empanelled cupboards, ornate windows. Stove in now, where starfish and the great eels make their kingdom. Breaking the surface, clinging to a disintegrating spar, I look out on the vast acres of swell and feel the tug downward, ever downward, where vessel and man are one in the push and pull of death's dominion.